Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading doing a follow-up interview with one of my favorites, KHIRON-Life-Sciences, and Alvaro back with us. Alvaro, let's see.
Hi, Tim, how are you?
Big day for you yesterday, man. Huh?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Very, very big day, and hopefully more to come.
So we had an earnings report that I thought was stellar. And then we also had some news that came out about an acquisition, which kind of surprised me. So maybe we could just kind of give everybody a little update on what's going on over here at Chiron.
Well, yes, Tim, I think why don't we start maybe from the first release, the earnings, and then I'll dive into the German.
Okay.
So in the end, you know the story we've been talking about, right, Tim? It's since I founded the company, it's all about, yes, steady, slowly, but steady. It's all about patient acquisition, owning the patient, being able to sell a high value, high gross margin product. And that slowly is going to allow us to get into better market. So what this Q1 shows is, we're selling more every day. Every day we sell more than the day before. We sell a product at a very high gross margin that very few companies do, because everybody just wants to sell cheap weed. We sell actually, quality of life. And I know that sounds subjective, but maybe people start to believe that now, right? Because you're not trying to get a product into a patient's mouth. You're trying to convince that doctor and that patient that this works for you and it's better. So we're selling more, higher gross margins. We're spending less. We are reducing our expenses. Our cash outflow is lower. And this is because we sell a high gross margin product, because we have to be more disciplined, because money is not being thrown around there. So we have to be a lot more disciplined. And I used to be in engineering, so I know how to work on a budget. And we have to keep doing that. We have to keep growing. And I think that's what Q1 shows. That's the overall message. After that, you see, well, how come company from Colombia, even with my accent and all, more of our sales are coming from Europe, right? So that means maybe there is something in the secret sauce, right? Maybe there is something that we're doing that's right, which is we know how to educate doctors. We know how to do that. And we are now showing it in the other side of the Atlantic. So Europe is now becoming a very significant part of our business. Second, that if you look at the company a year ago, you would say, and because we spoke about it, you and I, this is a clinic business with some cannabis. And I told you then, no, this is a funnel. It does look like a big channel, like a big chunk of our revenues, but over time, it's going to be less and less, let's call it, relevant. And that's what we start to show Q1, where more than half of our sales are coming from cannabis. More than half of them are coming from Europe, right? And even more important is that by March, so a couple of months ago, we now broke the $1 million a month revenue run rate in cannabis. Now, think about that. Last year, we sold $4.6 million in cannabis. And right now we're making $1 million a month, right? And so I think sometimes with these things, you have to keep doing it and keep showing it. And I think we always have to show more than you would like to. But I'm also very happy that we're able to show what I've been telling you. Of course, everybody would like it faster, for me, first of all. But we are living in under extraordinary circumstances. But we are the top selling brand in Latam. We are the top selling brand in the UK. I'm in the UK right now with our team. That's where I'm calling you from. And it's very happy for us to be that successful. And we're still in the first inning of the first game of the World Series. I believe that because the potential is huge, but we got to keep doing it, very disciplined, keep growing. We have more patients every day, more retention. Patients are paying more for cannabis than they used to a year ago. And it's all in our new deck of how we are acquiring, retaining, and they're spending more. And that is going to translate in higher revenues, higher gross margins, like real gross margins, less expenditures, and with a little bit more discipline, team, like we have been doing, and a little bit more, we can get to that cash flow neutrality, that EBITDA neutrality that we've been thinking about for the last year and a half. But for us to get there, it takes being able to sell a high gross profit product, which we do. So I think that's overall the highlight on Q1. Of course, I think Q2, we're already at 2/3 of it. It's going to be even better. And that's because we know where our revenues are coming from. And I'm very excited. And right now, Europe is becoming such a significant part of our business. It's very important because we wanted to diversify our revenues 2 years ago. Because we knew that one day investors, shareholders would like to be able to be part of an international conversation and not just be thinking about what's happening with the elections in Colombia, in Peru, in Brazil. We have a sufficient base of pounds, euros, Colombian pesos that allows us to diversify. And we're building a lot of evidence that's making doctors all across prescribe more. And that's in 8.5 minutes, sort of the highlight of what we did in Q1. The second part of what we were talking about is what we announced right afterwards, which is an acquisition of distribution in Germany. Now, we've been thinking about this for the last 7 to 8 months. And the reason why is because, Tim, our business, we are obsessed with access. We're obsessed with data because data is what gives us the information to be able to grow. Last year, we sold almost $1 million Canadian in Germany alone, just by educating doctors and getting it through the chain. But the more you start thinking about it, you start thinking about what are the forces of competition. And you start looking at, generic cannabis. You start looking at other companies trying to compete with you. And we always think, well, if we had more information and more data regarding how these products are sold in the pharmacies, we can own that distribution, that last step, we would complete the entire cycle. Today, we own the doctors. Why don't we try to own the relationship with the pharmacies? And I think what we did with PharmaDrug, which we were able to acquire at a very low price compared to what's being out there, because we know that today we sell a product in Germany for 6 euros, 6.40, 6 euros, and the distributor sell it for 9. So why don't we just try to keep that margin for ourselves? Since we already are the ones buying the product, taking it there, educating the doctor makes little sense for us to not be able to take advantage of that and earn a little bit more margin. And that's why we decided to do this. If you look at it a year or 2 years from now, having distribution with EU GMP distribution, packaging, warehousing in Germany, when the European market opens up, this is going to be a tremendous opportunity for us. Now, this is a very good business that was doing decent revenues, but for us, it's more, how can we use that channel for ourselves? We'll continue to work with our partners, with their partners, but it's like Colombia. In Colombia, we produce. It's not that we want to produce everything, but we have the clinics, we have the pharmacy, we have the distribution, we have the delivery, and that's why we make 90% gross margins.
Right.
So we cannot own the clinics in Germany, but why don't we try to do a little bit more of that and get all this data that's going to allow us to make better decisions? Not that it's going to be always perfect, but you can make better decisions with more data. And this is something we've been thinking with the team, with Francisca, with Francie, and Francie, the president of Europe, and with the team here of how can we improve that. We want to work with several partners, but I think distribution is always that last mile. And as we said today, we are now complete. And we were able to do this in very favorable terms with very little cash outflow. We'll continue to execute on their SG&A, but we are offsetting that with the savings that we've made at the corporate level in Chiron. But the goal is how can we add 20 to 30% more margin to our already existing sales?
Right.
And I think it came at the appropriate time because Europe, well, I'm from Latin America, so I think Latin America is a bigger market, but Europe, it's really becoming a real market on its own. And if we can own that distribution like we do now, we're gonna be very serious players in Germany and the rest of Europe.
So would this be a co-branding thing, or you keep that brand that's already there and established, or how is that going to work moving forward? Do you know?
That's a very good question, Tim. But it's one of it's gonna unfortunately have to be one of those answers where You'll see when it happens.
Okay, got it. All right.
Because
you're
we
not
have
gonna.
to.
Okay.
I cannot give you away the secret sauce today. But
okay, I got it.
What you do know is that we know how to brand, but a brand is not a logo. A brand is a relationship with the consumer. And we want to create a brand with Chiron, as we have with the patient, the quality, and we'll have to create a brand with the pharmacist. So we're working on that right now.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's talk about a couple other things. So you guys did have a line of like topicals, lotions and stuff like that. And you guys, part of your cost reductions, you got out of that business. You're really kind of focusing more on just the cannabis itself, right?
Yes.
Right.
So Cuida, which is the cosmetic line, is my first baby. It's the first product we ever came up with the entire company. We were doing almost $300,000 sales in 2019. And I think our plan was to get to 1 million and so. But when the pandemic hit, then all of a sudden, introducing CBD cosmetics is not easy. I mean, we know because we are the first ones to do it in Colombia. You have to do a lot of education to consumers. That costs money. So every cent, every dollar that you're earning, you're spending it to be able to educate to earn the next dollar. And that makes sense. And that's all across CPG. When the pandemic started, we could no longer have people inside these pharmacies and shopping centers because of the pandemic restrictions. And so you start, and I said back then, we're going to stop that. We're going to reduce our cash. We're going to be able to. And then, of course, those sales start going down because naturally you're no longer promoting it actively. And these type of products are very difficult to promote digitally in markets that are so new, as in Latin America. Then last year, you start realizing, not realizing, but you're starting to show that our investments in medical cannabis is growing, and you're growing in the core of the business. And yes, Tim, you also have to be responsible with the cash that you are giving, right? And it's tough to make a decision like that, but we didn't build this company to do that. We built this company to improve the quality of life of people. Life threw us a curveball with the pandemic and all of these things. So we had to make the decision to say, well, yes, it's as we call our first baby, but it's going to be very expensive. It takes years, 5 years, 3 to 5 years to build a real brand in CPG. And we're still in the pandemic. There's still a lot of unknowns.
Right.
So we got to make the tough decisions. We got to write off the inventory. We still have a lot of it that we are, winding down by giving it away and things like that. But the financial impact of that was behind of us last year. And, we announced that only a month ago, and it hurts and all of that, but we're now in 2022. We're no longer thinking about that. And I think sometimes companies have to also be responsible enough to know when to stop. And that's what we did.
And that's why I wanted to bring it up. I wanted to highlight it because here's the deal. You're right. I mean, that is probably one of the toughest things to do, is to look at something and say, you know what? It's time that we stop putting the money towards this because we're not getting the biggest bang for our dollar, right?
Yeah.
And you're refocusing on where there is like this pharmacy deal, right? This distribution deal in Germany. I mean, that's going to be, I think, much more impactful. And the bottom line is, while those products were nice, I don't think there was anything that was so differentiating. I mean, there's so many topical lotions and all this other stuff that's out there. You really have to have something that, I think differentiates itself from everything else that's out there, right?
Well, Timmy, you're right, I think, but also it's because when you're launching these things, and my theory is that if you cannot sell the iPhone 1, don't bother with the iPhone 2. And that's the thing that happens with CBD and cosmetics and CPG, right? We launched a very good, high quality product that people liked. But you also know, as I do, that innovation has to drive continuously on that. And if you cannot continue to invest in the innovation, your product line is going to be stagnant. And if you're stagnant, you're going to die. So Cuida, what we developed for Cuida was just the first step of what we were thinking we could do, right? Which was all about dermatology, which is a very big market. But it also takes a lot of investment to do. And once you stop that cycle, in my opinion, once you stop that cycle, you might as well just say we're going to get out of it, because you cannot invest in marketing, you cannot invest in the science, you cannot invest in the innovation because of the conditions, the pandemic, the cash burn, because the world is no longer, open arms with cannabis. Then you have to be responsible and say, well, it was a very good, and I still believe that because I swear by the product, but it was a very good early stage, but we cannot sustain it. And we got to focus on what's driving our market, what's driving the name of the company. I named the company Chiron because it was the center that taught Hercules medicine, no? Not because of the cosmetics and the thermo cosmetics, but of course, it's always a shame, but as I say, we said to the team, like maybe one day we'll be able to do that when we are very successful.
And that's the thing. I mean, if you continue to build it, and we talked about it last time, the amount of data that you're collecting, telehealth, the thing that happened in Colombia where, you educated the insurance companies, you educated that was a massive win, right? And that I think you've seen some dramatic impact from those efforts. Yeah. Right. So that kind of thing transferred now over to, you're kind of bringing that now to Germany. And then who knows, maybe at some point that's going to be in Mexico. And you're building this continual, and it's working. You're building that platform. And then maybe also, maybe at some point, because you have the brand, because you have the distribution, because you have all that, maybe somebody that's already has those type of products or maybe that's somebody to partner with, right? Exactly. You're the distribution for them, because it's difficult for them. They may have an amazing product that is, and they don't have the distribution for it. They don't have that client base that's already built up, and you're building that. You're building the trust, and you're building this, you are changing or improving the people's quality of life through medical cannabis, right?
Exactly, Tim. And also, we are no longer in 2016, 17, right? Medical cannabis is an industry where you can, and we also have, to blame for that. You can defocus very easy because there's so many avenues you can take. But I think the discipline we have to take today, and we've taken it for the last, year or so, it's about, we know how to do this very well, which is what we always wanted to do. And we're doing it better than not only anybody, but better than we thought, even without these conditions. So, life is long. There's plenty of chapters in this company's life to keep doing all of these things, but we gotta show that we can do this, because it's hard enough. Our business is hard enough. You're building clinics, you're improving more people to come to your clinics, you are educating doctors, you're getting them to buy more cannabis, more units per month. What we do is so difficult that nobody else is doing it in Colombia, right? So it's not like, so we just have to make that decision. And as tough as it is also, I think it also shows discipline of the company that, we gotta be responsible, and we know where the money is at. And one day we'll revisit that, and it will be something else, probably. But
right.
Just in Colombia, there's 3 million people with chronic pain. We're only, 40,000 patients. So, why don't we explore that avenue first, and then we'll look at the rest.
Right. No, I mean, look, it's a tough decision to make, but again, to me, it's one that you had to make, and it does show the discipline, right? It shows focus, and that's where you have to be. If you think about this, and I think one of the things that is just impresses me more and more about Chiron is, we were in a pandemic. Pandemics don't happen very often. Matter of fact, I think this is the first one that I've ever experienced. So, to be able to grow your business the way that you have grown your business internationally is pretty phenomenal. If anybody doesn't see that as being pretty phenomenal feat, I think it is, through a pandemic, right? And that's what gets me so excited about, well, if this isn't the end of the world and things are going to get better, then how strong will Chiron be when things get better, right? If you're executing now, what's it going to be like? And that to me is exciting.
Well, it's like that. We joke, it's like that movie Forrest Gump, right? When they're in the middle of the storm and there's this boat left. Sometimes you just gotta survive that storm, because after that, you're probably gonna be one of the few ones out there, getting shrimp. And I know it sounds funny, but it's been tough for all of us. But what we build in these tough times is something that's gonna be our key differentiation today and then in the future, because we built it right where it was the most difficult time to build it.
Right.
But we had no choice. Like, you had to build it, otherwise, the companies we would not be here talking today, Tim. I think also you have to think about the future, the present, like we're doing, but you also have to think about the future, which is what we did with the German distribution. Because if you just think about the future so much, the present, sorry, one day all of these things go back and the investors and shareholders are going to ask, hey, what about growth? Oh, no, we didn't think about growth. And it's always it's always a balance that we have to make. So I think we're getting better at it, and I'm very happy that we're going to have a really good year, and next year is going to be even better, and everything we build is showing results.
It almost seems to me each time that I speak with you, you almost seem more relaxed every time I talk with you. I mean, you're always focused and on point, but I think there's times when I have talked with you in the past, you seem maybe a little more stressed out, right? I mean, you just seem much more calm to me.
Well, the one thing I remember when we met the first time, I told you that we measure everything, right? And when you're measuring everything, you know the good and the bad, but you can also project, and you can figure out where you're going to go if we take this conversation 1 month from now. But yesterday, we closed, today, June 1st, we closed on 10,015 units in Colombia. I've dreamt about this number for a long time. And I'm in Europe this week because, of course, this acquisition, and we're talking with the team and saying, guys, in the same week, we're now one of the few licensed companies to sell cannabis in 2 continents. We have just broken a huge milestone, because 10,000 units a month mean almost $600,000 of revenue in Colombia alone, at 90% gross margins. Everything we have to take about cash burn, all of these things, is improving because we're doing that. And sometimes you put yourself all these imaginary milestones, right? Because my next milestone is 20,000, you can imagine, but that's today. When are we going to hit that? And the way, because we always more relaxed, because we keep executing. Like 5 months ago, it was 5,000, right? We had that number, and we keep pushing, and all my team is thinking, how do we grow to 10,000? And the beauty part of that is that to get to 20,000 is a very different strategy from what we got to 10,000. And that's beautiful, because you're learning with all the data, but we have to adapt. We have to chase things. We have to try to do it with a lower investment so that we can get to those numbers. And I think just the execution helps me to be a lot more relaxed. Of course, it's difficult, no? It's very difficult. What we do is very difficult. But in the last 6 months, we've seen now how the UK is now our biggest market. We sold more in Europe than we did in Latam. And nobody would have given us a second thought about that, because I remember a year and a half ago was, what does a Latin American company have to do in Europe? But sometimes people forget this about culture. We have a fantastic team in Europe. We have a fantastic team in Latin America. We share the same culture. You cannot put it in writing, but what's really interesting is that we execute, and because we measure it, it's less stressful, but it's a different stress now than it was a year ago. But 10,000, we were just talking about this morning with the team. Imagine 2 years ago, in March 2020, we sold 9 units the day after the government shut down the country of Colombia. And we were happy to get 100. We were happy to get 100. And everybody was asking, well, of course, 100 is nothing, and maybe 1,000. And even today, 10,000 is nothing from what we can do. But it's one of those things that you're hitting and okay, we're never going to go back to 1,000 a month. Never. We're never going to go back to 5,000. Even in the UK, we sold almost more than 100 kilos in the first quarter. We're never going to go back to 100 kilos. And that's really exciting because you also know, okay, we need to change, we need to improve. And now we need distribution, and we're going to save the money. We're going to spend less and be more smart about doing it. But no, I don't want to spend hours telling you about how excited I am. But those little milestones we just broke yesterday, it's just, very exciting because nobody believed that could be done.
Right.
And even still, one day, I tell you today,
and you're
one
making
day will
it
be
happen.
100,000. Yeah.
You're making it happen. Not just you, but your entire team.
No, my team. Yeah, no, I don't do much.
Right. And I mean, in a very tough environment, even now with all of this, Russia, Ukraine stuff and inflation and everything else that's happening around the world.
Yeah.
You guys are continuing to execute. And that is what, look, if you're an investor, that is what you're looking for, is the ability to say, you know what, this team does what they say they're going to do, right? And it may not always be in the time frame that you wish. I mean, everybody is impatient and wants.
Yeah.
And the reality is, even when you are executing in an environment like this one, it doesn't get reflected in the share price because there's so much pressure in the overall markets. It's not a reflection of, and that's disappointing. I can imagine from your perspective, that's extremely disappointing because you're not being valued. You are not being rewarded for the execution, at least not at this point in time. Right.
Right. But, I haven't sold a single share. Neither has any insider. So our plan was not a 2-year plan. Right. And so you put that in perspective. Yes, it's share price sucks. All of these things are difficult. The market sucks in Germany. War in Ukraine. All of that is true. But, this is not a sprint. And we've seen the last year, so many companies go public. This is a long-term race because one day you have to be profitable, you have to be cash flow neutral, you have to start generating profits. That's when people will start, you become a different type of company. It just takes time to build it. And we didn't do this to get out in 2 years. And we're just hitting our stride. We just need to get a couple more things going. Maybe some luck in our side. We haven't had much luck. So imagine if you had some wind on your back, what we could do. But the fact that we're able to do what we're doing without that wind on our back, I think it's very motivating from when that finally happens. And we gotta be patient. It sucks, but I'm an engineer. I told you, if you build a pipeline, it takes 4 years. Right? The difference between this and that is that you can model the pipeline in day one. Here, you have to get everybody to imagine what it looks like. Sometimes we don't do a good job about that, but we try to get better.
But as you start to see those milestones hit, like I'm sure the 10,000 thing, I mean, you've been thinking about that for a long time. Now it's hit. It's like reality. It's like, wow, we actually have done it, right? I mean, and that gives you, I would think, some renewed invigorism, right? You're invigorated now. It's like, okay,
I am, yeah.
That wasn't like something that couldn't be achieved. We achieved it. Now what's the next one, right?
It's like, yeah, we were joking. The team was joking yesterday because, of course, we hit that milestone, 10 p.m., right? Because that's how millimetric we measure, 10 p.m. And of course, I'm calling today in the morning, and the next phrase somebody said, okay, so what now? 15,000? Yes, 15,000. So you get to celebrate for like 5 minutes. Now everybody's like 15,000, and it's not that we don't appreciate it; it's that we know we can do that, and we can do a lot more. So yeah, you gotta celebrate it. You wait. You spend 5 minutes celebrating, congratulating everybody, and then okay. So what did we do wrong so that we didn't hit 15,000 by this time? And then how can we improve it? The same thing happens in the UK. Now in the UK, I mean, in November we were selling 3 to 4 kilos a month, and then we opened the clinic and we started doing all these different things. and December was 25 kilos in 1 month,
Right.
right? And so, boom, and all of a sudden you have to think, we cannot go back to 5. So how do we keep it? And I think that's the most amazing part of the company, which will be revalued and reassessed with the coming months. And then one day, then I'll be able to get a little bit more relaxation. But I don't think that's going to happen soon.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, one of the things we've talked about too is all of the data that you are collecting for the benefit of medical use for cannabis, all the different, ailments that people suffer from, where cannabis can and does help these people live a better quality of life, right? And I was never a cannabis user, because I have an allergic reaction actually to it. It's like really terrible. But I had COVID recently, and actually one of my friends told me to try, because I had body aches so bad. I mean, literally from my toenails to my hair, I was in agony. And actually said, listen, and I was trying everything, Advil and ibuprofen and all this different stuff to try, and nothing worked. And he's like, trust me, just go get a gummy. Right. And I did. I mean, I was like, because I was desperate. It was like, please make this go away. And I swear to you, it was unbelievable. I went it took a while to kick in, but when it finally kicked in, I was actually laying in my bed laughing, not an ache at all. I mean, it was like amazing. And I could understand how people that are going through, chemo and all that stuff, how this could be really game changing for them. Right. Because that was my first indication of how my body aches went away for, I was able to go to sleep, and it was like game changing for me. Right.
I know how that.
So, I mean, I look at this, and you're collecting that data. You are, you have specific use cases that you can point to, right?
Yes. And we already started publishing. We published in Frontiers magazine. That's the 3rd largest publication in the world. And we're soon going to be publishing a study on the UK with the data that we have. In the end, this works. We can show it works. This is not a fad. It's going to stay here for hundreds of years. And every year there's going to be more evidence, and we're going to be driving that evidence. And what we're trying to do with that is just educating more doctors and show them this is not the devil. No, don't be afraid of it.
And get them away from prescribing opioids.
Yeah,
that are killing people.
Today,
right?
Like, one of the things that we are most proud of, we're going to be doing the rest of the year, is that we're able to show that it's less expensive, that it's better for safety, that people don't want to be zombies injecting themselves with morphine drops and buprenorphine patches. And when you can measure that, it's different. Because in the end, team, I believe we are all going to be patients like you were. We're all going to be patients. We don't want to be hooked on poison. I'm sorry. Right. No, so this is something different, and I love the fact that we're able to measure it. But we're just scratching the surface when it comes to all what we can do with the data. But the day will come when we can actually exploit all of that. Right now, we're using that data to educate more doctors and drive more demand, become cash flow neutral, etc. One day we'll have all of this information so we can actually develop new products and things that are going to be very much more exciting.
And as I look at it, as you continue to build all that out, I mean, and I don't know, big pharmas or whatever, I would think that the more that you execute, the more you're going to gain eyeballs of other companies that are going to say, these guys have a model that works. And there's not, I mean, who's to say? And I want to be pretty clear about this, Alvaro. Don't be selling like the company when you haven't hit your major stride. Okay.
Oh,
right?
No.
I mean, don't be selling the damn company because somebody gets interested and wants to pick you up. I mean, make sure that they pay a fair price.
No,
But
believe me, my family won't let me do that. after,
but
after all
I,
these years.
I do think that, at some point you become a target. I mean, because you are executing and you're doing something that nobody else that I can see is doing, right? So
No, nobody else.
and that is going to put you in a very interesting position down the road, right? So right now the market isn't seeing all of this, and that's okay. Patience, investing is a patience game to me, right?
Oh.
The issue is, do you have the right team, the right product, the right execution, all of that? Is that all in place? And I feel as though that is in place here.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Right?
Appreciate that.
So patience is all I can say. They're on the right path. The numbers reflect that. The quarter reflects that. I just, keep doing what you're doing, Alvaro. Keep driving it. Stay focused. I mean, I love the fact that you did this deal in Germany. I mean, that was definitely one that I didn't see coming, but I love, I just wanted to, about the Xerenia thing here. I mean, I think that is a very sharp looking retail store, right?
Thank you.
I mean, it's a sharp looking operation, right? I wanted to kind of highlight that. And the fact that you're also got telemedicine in there too, right? I mean, there are so many opportunities for you to continue to grow. And congratulations on your milestone of 10,000.
Thank you, Tim. I mean, just one last thought. Remember, this is really about the team that we have, in Europe, Francie, the team that we have led by Francie in Europe, the team that we have in Latin America, in the clinics. I'm just here telling you what they do, right? So, but this idea of distribution, this is all about a team of people to really understand and believe in the passion. So I'm just taking the fruits of the accomplishments, but you have to know that there's a very dedicated team from Canada, Colombia, Peru, Mexico, UK, Germany, Portugal, Spain, Brazil, that are making this happen. So, I'm just trying to live up to that great work. So, this news that we have, it's all about the reflection of the team. And I'm just really fortunate that I'm able to lead them, because it gets more exciting every day.
No, it does. So look, I just want to bring up real quick. Actually, it looks like you're getting a nice little bounce here.
Yeah, don't tell me that. That's not jinx.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not going to jinx it. I mean, look.
For me. Yeah.
What's interesting? I'll tell you this right now. So, there's this long-term trend. Actually, you kind of you have taken this trend out. You just got back above the. What is it? Did you get back above the? Oh yeah, you just got back above the. Hold on a second. Where is the 50? Yeah, you're back above the 50-day moving average. So coming up on the 200-day. Look, this is a good story, and at some point, the market, it is going to be reflected in the market. This is a long-term hold for me, and anybody that doesn't know this story, I'm not telling you to buy the stock right here. That's not what I do. What I'm telling you is, this is a company that executes. Alvaro is passionate about what he does. I mean, I have been following you guys, I don't know how long now,
Yes.
But if you want the whole full story, there's several interviews that I've done with Alvaro, and he's executed. That's the bottom line. He executes, he does what he says he's going to do. And I think he's put together, and his team have put together a fantastic model that's only getting better. So, put this thing on your radar. I think it is stupid. In my opinion, it's stupid cheap at these levels, like stupid cheap. So, it's a great opportunity to maybe take a starter, get a little starter going. Could it come back down and test this recent low at 9 cents? Sure, it could happen. That could be a double bottom test and actually kind of solidify the fact that is the low, right? So, is that possible? Absolutely, that is possible. That's why I say maybe just take a starter position, but then start following this company and see what they're accomplishing. It's pretty amazing what they've done in the last couple of years. So that's it. Alvaro, thank you so much for coming back in and doing this. We will, when you have more exciting, significant announcements, we'll come back and do another follow-up.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much for following us. And, let's go for those 15,000 and those 500 kilos a year.
All right, Alvaro, hold on. I'm going to turn this off.
All right.
Hey there, all you stock market junkies. Thanks for tuning in to another follow-up interview here at Alpha Wolf Trading. Today we had Alvaro Torres from KHIRON-Life-Sciences. Ticker symbol KRHNF. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like. Why not give us a share? And while you're at it, how about giving us a follow? Till next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.